aren't I cute? No, I really probably look like shit. I'm exhausted. The getting up multiple times a night for years on end is starting to burn me out. So, this is autism. It really kicks your ass. And I find myself contemplating, you hear, and you know that life is so precious. Each moment goes so fast. Your child's 5, child's almost 8. The years just, when you look at it that way, they're gone in a heartbeat. And you're kind of looking back and going, oh, I missed this, and oh, I missed that. But when you're in the middle of it, day in and day out, the days are so long and the battles are so hard. And I can't help but wonder when you hear people say they'd like to die and treasure each moment. And when you're in the middle of this fight and this war, how do you do that? Because there's so many painful moments that seem to never end. And yeah, at times you get, a 2 to 3 month span. Shit, things are going right. We finally found something that works. And it's like, well, how long is this going to last? But you try to enjoy it and it makes you smile. But then you've got 6 to 8 months of war again. And in the middle of that, when you're trying desperately to meet the child's needs, and they're in meltdown mode to where they're hitting themselves and they're hitting you, and everything's overstimulating, and they don't have the verbal abilities and the comprehension to tell you what it is they need and what they're feeling. So they start punching themselves, and they start taking on you and punching you and kicking you. And in the middle of all of that, you want to get mad, you want to scream, you want to cuss, and I know I have. Especially when I get kicked or hit and I didn't see it coming. And you kind of embrace them in the middle of being punched and touch their face with your face and just give them that love, because that's what they need. And you do that day in and day out, and you try to cook the dinners or cook the meals, the breakfast, the lunch, but you're in the other rooms, so you can't be with them when the doctors tell you that you have to watch them 24/7 and they need a behavior coach and a mentor. And you have a 5-year-old that's with them, and she's 5, so she antagonizes, and she's, that sibling thing that kids do. But you have an autistic child, and they can't handle being looked at, and they can't handle the noise, and they can't handle having someone stick their tongue on them. How ugly does that get in a matter of seconds? It can get extremely ugly, violent, and you have to run in there and fix that. Or, the kid's 5 feet from you, and you turn your back to go and hang up their coats from school, and you turn around and somebody getting punched. God only knows what for. And this is, again, 24/7. And then you have the other one who wants to die and is screaming and crying hysterically and trying to find whatever they can to eat to feel better, and is hearing voices and seeing things, and just so miserable. And you think to themselves, after watching something you had seen the night before about if I died tomorrow, would I be happy? Was my life happy? And you think about that child that's going through the misery and the pain and the outside factors that you can't control, which are causing so much more grief and confusion and anger. And if that child died tomorrow, would they be happy? Right now, absolutely not. And I try very hard to comfort and support and clean up after and fight for. And we're in a situation where all of these disabilities, and there are many of them, we have 12 with one child, it has gotten to the point where leaving the house is difficult, being around people is difficult, noises are difficult, touch is difficult, sound, smell, a crowded room, a library, all those things are just too much. And the doctor has written excuses, and the doctor has written the diagnoses and recommendations, and the school district is refusing to acknowledge them, refusing to acknowledge any of that. So we've gotten, the habitual truancy and the truancy tickets, and contributing to truancy. And we have a pile of 60 emails that I have sent requesting services. Being there's an IEP involved under emotional and learning disability, and children are entitled to extra supports. Whatever supports it is they need to get them to school so that they can learn. And I have been refused. This child has been refused all of it. What we've gotten instead is a psychotic breakdown, extreme medication change, isolation, bipolar cycles that last a half an hour but are a complete cycle, and it happens 5 to 10 times a day. A trial coming up where we actually have to have witnesses and cross-examination questions, and it was suggested we hire a lawyer when every one of these absences have been excused due to the diagnosis and the symptoms relating to those diagnoses. And yet somehow we are still being taken and having to go to trial to prove what else, I'm not sure, being we have all of the documentation. And now we're looking at homebound. Well, homebound, in-home indefinitely, with the list of 12 diagnoses, and the school is, can we do it at the library? Can we do it at a coffee house? I'm confused, because what part of that is homebound when the child can't leave the house, but yet we're going to set up yet another obstacle that the child won't be successful with, and try and enforce that? It's kind of a nightmare. And can we say that the paperwork that I've had to do, and the complaints I've had to file, and the people I have to contact that actually are on our side, the disability rights and the family ties, advocacy groups, and talking to DPI. DPI is involved in special education, and there's requirements, and evaluations and checklists that the school has to go through in order to tell you no, they won't do something, and to tell you no, why they won't do something, and that's not happening. It's just kind of avoidance and power play, and they don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I had an officer tell me, well, this child looks fine. Well, isn't that a discriminating comment in itself, because you have no idea what this child looks like behind closed doors, emotionally. You haven't read the documentations. You haven't seen the behaviors. You haven't seen the meltdowns. You haven't seen their pain. But by all means, cause more issues out of ignorance. That's only one, thing we're dealing with. I suffer from my own issues of depression and anxiety, and I kind of live in that And being on camera and talking is difficult. I tend to hide from people, and I hide in my house, and I suck at connecting with friends, which I don't really have anymore. Years ago, I was in contact with someone who was, in other words, psychotic, and I was followed and publicly humiliated and stalked and harmed, and it's made me extra uncomfortable to talk to people and get my face out there and get this shit we're having to deal with out there, because I know I'm not the only one going through this. And yet, I don't have any answers or solutions. I just keep filing paperwork and making phone calls. And, it's, when you're dealing with all this on a regular basis, every day, and then, you have laundry for 5 people to do, or you have dishes for 5 people to do. You have to do it, because otherwise, no one's gonna have any dishes to eat off of, and no one's gonna have any clothes to wear. There's the meals. Well, crap. We've got 5 different people, and let me tell you, we all eat differently, and I can deal with whatever, and I'll eat whatever, because it's food, and it's there, and I'm hungry, and I'm not gonna complain too much unless, it's a plate of onions or mushrooms or something. But the kids, forget it. They all eat different foods, so you have to make all of these different meals. And no, it's not one of those smack their ass and eat it or go hungry, because if you have that kind of comment in your head or just came out of your mouth, then you clearly know shit about the situation or these diagnoses or this neurological disorders that controls our children's thoughts and behaviors and adds to confusion. And you need to learn a little bit more about it. So we're dealing with this every day. And I, where do I get to sit back and enjoy a moment and be thankful for this moment? And there's so few that are precious and happy. There's pain and fear and confusion and tears and crying, and it's so much to stay on top of. And I'm shadow boxing, and I'm trying to put out all these different fires, and I'm absolutely exhausted. And then the child does have a happy moment, and the one comes up to you and wants you to play with them, and you literally just sat down for 5 seconds and you're trying to get your head straight, but the child wants to play with you, and then you feel like shit because you're so exhausted, and you're trying to give them your attention, but you can't focus on anything because there's so many things running through your head, and there's so many things you still need to get up and do, and there's not enough hours in the day. What do you do? I wish there was a volunteer program out there for autism families that volunteers could come and bring a hot meal or lend a hand, because there's never enough hands, there's not enough time, there's never enough of anything. It's this kind of draining, exhausting, for me, most often unhappy situation. And, where we did everything we were supposed to. We did the early intervention and birth to 3 and the horse riding therapy and the OT and the speech and the medications, because I had no choice. And, you have the IP meetings, and you talk with the teachers, and you know what your kid needs, and you get the recommendations from the doctors, but then you have to fight the school because the school says it's behavioral and they don't want to deal with it, or it's mental health. Send the child somewhere else. Or this is a great one. The child legally has to be in this building and attend school, but the child has to be functioning in order to stay in the school, because if the child is not functioning, or is having behaviors or meltdowns, the child needs to leave the school. But legally, the child has to be in the school. But we're not going to give the child anything extra to help them and support them through the day so that they don't meltdown or freak out or shut down.